Hello, fourth grade math students. Here we are again. We're going to be talking about decimals again. Now, yesterday we learned how to represent decimals using money. We used dimes to represent the tenths because they are 1/10 of a whole dollar. And we used pennies to represent hundredths because they are 1/100th of a dollar. Or another way to put it, there are 10 dimes in a dollar and there are 100 pennies in a dollar. Today, we're going to take decimals and we are going to be working on comparing them and ordering them. Because our TEKA is 4.2F, I can compare and order numbers to the billions. And you'll see up behind me here a familiar tool, okay? We have a number line. And I know you've seen these before, and they're very handy when it comes to comparing numbers and putting them in order, because we know that if there's a dot at the 7, that means it is more than a dot would be at the 3. And you're wondering, how are we going to put decimals on there? Well, you see, because decimals are parts of a whole, what we do is we take those whole segments in between the numbers and we divide them into equal segments in between. So let's watch a video and see how this works.
How can you locate points on a number line? Think about this question during the lesson. In long track speed skating, each lap is 4/10 of a kilometer. For the 1,500-meter race, each skater goes around the track 3 75/100 times. How can you use a number line to show these distances? Let's find out. Locate 4/10 on a number line. Draw a number line and divide the distance from 0 to 1 into 10 equal parts to show tenths. Where should you draw a point to show 4/10? The distance from 0 to 4/10 is 4/10 of the distance from 0 to 1. The point is on 4/10. Locate 3 75/100 on a number line. First, draw a number line to show the distance between 3 and 4. Then divide the distance from 3 to 4 into 10 equal parts to show tenths. How can you find where to put the point for 3 75/100?
Okay, so here we see, if you look at my pointer right here, we have 3 7/10 and 3 8/10. So this, if you look, 3 75, I know 75 comes in between 70 and 80.
You know that the point will go between 3 7/10 and 3 8/10. You can use a second number line to show the interval between 3 7/10 and 3 8/10.
So do you see here how we have 3 7/10, and this looks like 70. And here we have 3 8/10, and this looks like 80. And you see how 75, or 3 75/100 is right in between there. So it's just counting. Remember, math follows those patterns.
The points on both number lines are at 3 75/100. Now you know how to locate decimals on a number line.
Okay, great job. Let's move on here, and we're going to do a problem together. So let me show you the problem I have here for you. All right. Here it says, what decimal names the location of each lettered point on the number lines? So we have more than one number line, I see the letters here and the points that are marked. So we need to know what decimal names the location of them. Tell how you decided, solve this problem any way you choose. Well, let me tell you how I decided this. So first I took a look at my number line and I wrote down, okay, the first number line has A, B, and C. And then I started and I looked at the beginning point of my number line, which is 0, and I looked at the end of it, which is 1. This tells me a lot of information. This tells me that my numbers are going to be bigger than 0, but they are going to be less than 1. So I know I'm going to start out with a 0 in my ones place because I'm not over here. Numbers bigger than 1 would be over here, and we're not over there. And now I'm going to decide to find out what these equal segments are. Because sometimes number lines, the tick marks can count by 2s or 5s, okay? But I'm looking, there's quite a few there. Let me try counting by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's not gonna work because when I get to 10, I should be at the 1, but I was right here. So that is not correct. The tick marks do not represent 2. Let's see if they represent 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so each tick mark represents 1/10. I can also write that 1/10 like that. Okay, and I'm just making a little note there out to myself to remind myself so I don't forget. I always write down the important information because it's easy to forget and then mess up. So if I'm looking, A is just 1 tick mark over, so A would be 1/10. Now B, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I would have it 0, remember we're less than 1, and 5/10. Now C would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0, and 7/10. Now I'm just going to double check. Remember, I was thinking to myself at the beginning that all my numbers had to be less than 1. Those are all less than 1. All right? So I'm going to go on to D, E, and F. And this number line looks very similar to the one above it, except remember the first thing I check is where do we start and where do we end? Okay, so the first whole number I see on here is 1, and the last one is 2. Now I notice D is hanging out over here. That makes me think I may have to, what am I going to do to figure that out? We'll see. First, I need to figure out what does each tick mark stand for. So it looks very similar to this one, so I'm going to count by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I was correct. Each tick mark equals 1/10, which I can write as a fraction or a decimal. Okay, so that lets me know that my numbers will be in tenths. Now I'm looking here and D is on this side of the 1, which means it has to be less than 1. So I'm going to put my 0 down again. And if we're counting by tenths and I count backwards by tenths, because that's what I'm going to have to do here, then this one would be 0.9, this one would be 0.8 or 8/10, and this one would be 7/10. Okay, I could keep going all the way down to 0. Okay, this is similar to here. Okay, we said C was 7/10, so this would be 8/10, and this would be 9/10. So even though the number lines are different, C and D are actually equal to each other. Okay, so you see how I 987, 987, only here because I had this part of the number line, I counted up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Doesn't matter which way you count, as long as you determine what this interval is, where your number line starts, where your number line ends. Now for E, I notice E is on this side of the 1. So it is going to be bigger than 1. So I'm going to put 1 down here. I'm going to put my decimal point, and I'm going to count the tenths. 1, 2. 2/10. All right, and then EF is also going to be bigger than 1. But it's going to be less than 2 because it's still on this side of the 2. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1 and 9 tenths. I'm going to look at that again. Well, that would make sense because I remember when we counted backwards from the 1, the tick mark right beside the 1 was 0.9 or 9 tenths. So it would make sense if we counted backwards from the 2, this would be 1 and 9 tenths. Okay? So let's go down to this number line. This one looks different than the other two. E, F, G. Oh, you can't see that. Let's scoot that over there. There we go. G, H, I. Okay, so this one looks different. And again, the first thing I do is I'm going to look at my beginning point and my ending point. So my beginning point is 3, and my ending point is 5. That tells me numbers 1 and 2 are right out. They cannot be the answer. And anything bigger than 5, like 6, 7, or 8, they cannot be the answer either. My numbers must be between 3 and 5. And then I see 3, 4, 5, and I'm wondering, that looks like tenths. Let me count by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It is tenths. So we have the same thing here. Each little tick mark represents 1/10, or 1/10. It can be written either way. Okay. So now I see this is between 3 and 4. So it can be more than 4 because more than 4 is over here. So G, I'm going to start out with my ones, which would be 3. I'm going to put my decimal point, and then I'm going to count the tick marks. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2 tenths. Just like that. And H, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So H would be 3, because we're in between the 3 and the 4, and 6 tenths. I'm going to just double count that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Never hurts to take a second to just double check. Okay, now I is clear over here between the 4 and the 5. It can't be more than 5, but it's going to be 4. Okay, we're going to put our decimal point. Very important little dot there. And let's count 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be 4 and 4 tenths. So there we are. I have determined, remember the steps I took when using a number line was to look at the first number and the last number, and then to determine what each tick mark in between represents. On all of these, they represented 1/10. As you get into more difficult math, that may change. So always pay attention to that. And then I determined where these points laid on that line. So that is what I have for you there today. For math, again, remember we're doing 4.2F, where we can compare and order the numbers through the billions. So that includes decimals. And today we used a number line. I hope the rest of your math class goes well and that you have a great day. We'll see you later.